Hey everyone, this is Lala Reddy from Abstrakt Music Lab, and today we're going to talk about how to make things stereo with the HAAS effect. I'm going to explain to you 4 things in this video. So the first is, what is the HAAS effect and what is it for? Second, how can you do it within any DAW? Literally any DAW works. Third, what are the possible issues that may arise with the HAAS effects and how can you avoid them? Fourth, a plugin that I use to avoid these issues. And lastly, I'm going to explain to you when do I use the HAAS effect and when do other producers use the HAAS effect and who uses the HAAS effect as well. So you know the pros and cons of using the HAAS effects in your tracks and you use it conscientiously. So let's dive into the video. Let's go. So here we have 3 channels. I'm going to start first with this hi-hat. You can listen to it. It's a simple hi-hat. It's in mono. Okay. And now what I want to do with it, I want to make it stereo. And one way to make it stereo is using the HAAS effect. So first of all, what is the HAAS effect? So the HAAS effect is an effect that a lot of producers use to create wideness in your tracks. And it's a simple trick. The only thing that you do is you're going to delay one of the sides, so either the left or the right side. So this delay creates a perceived wideness in your sound. It makes the sound hit one of the ears faster than the other. And our brain interprets this as things being wide and stereo. And as I said before, it's used to make things stereo. A lot of producers use this to make things that are in mono stereo. So how can you do this in your DAW? So the first thing that you have to do this is we have here our hi-hat. It's in mono. So we're going to double this and we're going to delay this in 10 milliseconds. You can go up to from 20 to 5 milliseconds. I like to use 10 milliseconds whenever I use the HAAS effect. And then you're going to make one of the sides totally left and the other one a hard right. Remember that the sound was in mono. I'm going to just double this so we have the mono version of it. This was the original sound. And this is the stereo sound. Again, mono, stereo. If you're not listening to this, I'm going to show you one of the plugins that I love. So basically, this is the mono version, and this is the stereo version. Mono, stereo. So one of the possible problems with the HAAS effect is that since you're delaying one of the sounds, you're basically the initial hit of the track. So this is the left, this is the right. You're doing something like this. Okay, the left is playing earlier than the right. The problem was when you put this in mono, it can sound a little bit duplicated, like instead of how it was. Listen to the original in mono, and now the HAAS effect one. So you can listen to the So this is one of the possible problems with the HAAS effect. The other thing is you alter how it sounds in mono. So to show you the problems that the HAAS effect may cause in the mono field, now I'm going to use a different patch. I'm going to use a serum patch, the initial saw wave. And this is what it sounds like. And this is how it looks like. You can see mono. This is how it looks in the spectrum. And with the HAAS effect, you can see what it causes and you can actually listen to it and you can see it going from mono to stereo. Okay. But look at what it does here to the wave. So this wave over here has disappeared. This wave disappeared. This wave is being diminished. This wave it diminishes a little bit. This one is being heightened. So it changes a little bit how it sounds. But now let's listen to how it sounds with and without the HAAS effect, but how it sounds in mono. So this is original, mono, and this is with the HAAS effect, but activating the mono over here. And we can listen that it's causing a lot of, it's totally different, right? So how it was, how it is. It's totally different. And the reason why this is happening is, I'm going to show you this right here. So this is the original wave. This is the HAAS effect wave. And we are delaying the right wave, the right ear in 10 milliseconds. And this is what you're seeing over here. But this over here is causing a little bit of phase cancellation. Because when you put one to the left, one to the right, and you delay the right in 10 milliseconds, the wave, they're not going to be 100% aligned as they used to be. They're going to be a little bit delayed right now. So this causes a little bit of phase cancellation. What is the problem with that? Well, you're maybe making your tracks wider, but at the same time, you're making the mono field of their tracks a little bit weaker. And this could be a real big problem. So how can you solve this? There's a plugin that I love, which is free, and you can check the link to it below here in the description. It's called Wider. And let's listen to what it does in mono. Okay, so disabling wider, enabling HAAS effect, wider. Now I'm gonna disable this mono over here. And this is what it's doing. And I'm actually going to show this to you that it's actually making it wider. So we're making it wider, but we're not affecting the mono field. Okay. Wider is a plugin that I use whenever I want to make something stereo in the low end, but I don't want to mess up the mono frequency as well. What about hi-hats and other elements? Do you use the HAAS effect for that? Well, sometimes. I'm not alone in this. There is another producer that I really respect called Mauro Levi. You can check some of his songs here in the description below as well. He's been released at Armada, Anjuna Beats, and many other labels. And he said to me, I asked him via Instagram, and he said to me that he still uses the HAAS effect. I asked another producer called Matt Lunge, which also is highly acclaimed producer, has releases at Anjuna Beats as well. He also said that he uses the HAAS effect. I'd say to you that if I have to give a light to where to use the HAAS effect, I'd say use the HAAS effects for elements that are higher in the spectrum. So elements that are, I'd say, higher than 1K and not lower than 1K. Do I use it for lower than 1K? Well, sometimes I do. But most of the time, whenever I'm doing 100 to 100K, I'm normally using wider. And whenever I'm going 1K further, I sometimes use the HAAS effect, sometimes use wider. What is the problem with wider? Wider is not a good plugin to use for hi-hats. So let's listen to how it sounds like with wider. It may not be the effect that you want. It may distort the sound a little bit, so it may not be the effect that you want. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'd recommend you to test. If you don't like it with wider, then for hi-hats, sometimes, yeah, you can go with the HAAS effect. Again, there are issues and you must be aware of them. Knowing that they can happen, well, this is a decision that you can take afterwards and decide whether you want to use it and go through these problems, or a decision that you don't want to take and avoid these problems after all. There are a lot of other ways that you can make things stereo, but for the sake of just making things that are mono stereo, this is what the HAAS effect is for. These are the problems of the HAAS effect as well. And I hope you guys like this video. Let me know if you learned something in the comments below. I'd love to know if you're gonna use wider in one of your tracks as well. So leave a comment, let me know if you're gonna use wider. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I see you in the next video. Cheers.